Okay, so a quick review on factoring and quadratics and just kind of put you in the right frame of mind. So remember, you started with something that looked like this and had to multiply it. So you learned a couple different strategies. A lot of my kids, I remember, liked the box. So you put one of your factors at the top, one on the side. This is kind of like the Punnett squares that you guys were doing in biology. So the 3x times the x would go in this box. You have 3x squared. And then the x times the negative 2 would go here. Then the 3x times the 6 would go here. And then the 6 times the negative 2 would go here. Then to write your final answer, you would have 3x squared. That box goes first. You combine these boxes together. And then that last box goes last. So that's how you multiply to get to the quadratic in standard form. Or you could do FOIL. Some of my kids liked FOIL. You multiply the first numbers. You multiply the outside numbers. Multiply the inside numbers. And then you multiply the last numbers. Now if you notice, all these things here are the exact same things we got in the box. It's just a different way to set it up. It's an organizational thing. It's not a different strategy thing. And you end up getting the exact same answer. Well, so you do need to know how to do that, but that was always the easier part, just multiplying, because that's all you're doing is multiplying. So the harder part is to go backwards. So you're given the formula or the equation, and you have to find the factors and the solutions from that. So it has to be, so we're going to talk about a couple ways to do it. It has to be in standard form in order to factor, which means that it has to equal 0. So that means it equals 0. So like that, that's already in standard form. These other ones, you just rearrange them. 2x squared minus 5x. To move the 7 over, you would subtract it, equals 0. Here, you start with the 4x squared. To move this over, you subtract it to equal 0. Okay, so then I'm going to show you a couple different ways you can do it. So I always liked to just set up my parentheses like this and then work from there. So to get 2x squared, I need something times something to equal 2x squared. My only choices are 2x and x. So that has to go first. Because remember from FOIL, you would be multiplying those two things first to get the first term. So it has to be 2x times x. Then you move on to the last term. Oops, I had to change the color. So I need something times something to equal 7, negative 7. Well, it has to be 7 and 1, and you just have to figure out where they go. So if you can do a little mental math in your head to think about where a good place would be, go for it. If you can't, just write them down. 7 and 1. And one of them has to be negative and positive. So just like this, if I multiply the first two numbers, I get 2x squared. If I multiply the last two numbers, I get negative 7. So now the only thing you have to do is figure out if you can get that negative 5 with what you did. So 2x squared is the first. And then outside would be plus 2x. Inside is negative 7x. Last is negative 7. When I combine these, I get negative 5x. So I did do it right. So those are my factors, but then we're still not quite done yet. So after you get the factors, 2x minus 7, you set it equal to 0. X plus 1, set it equal to 0. And then you solve for x. So here x equals -1. Whoops. Move the whole little screen thing. Oh, no. Okay. Oh, let me fix things. Okay. There we go. Okay, so 2x equals 7 divided by 2 equals 7 over 2. And x equals -1. And those are your solutions. Another way that you could look at it, some of my kids like to put things in the box. So this would be 4x squared, and this would be 5. And then you fill in things on the box. So I could put 4x and x, that would give me 4x squared. I could put 5 and 1, that would give me 5. And then I fill in the other boxes to see if it works. And this gives me +9, and I need it to be -9. So if I make both of these negative, then it gives me my -9. So here, my factors are x minus 1 equals 0, x equals 1, and then 4x minus 5 equals 0, so x equals 5 over 4. Another thing that you can do is put this into the y equals of your calculator. And in the table, you would be looking for where y equals 0. But for something like this, we wouldn't have found 7 over 2 or 5 over 4 in the table without doing some table change stuff. You could also do this and look at the graph and find the intersections in the graph, doing second calc intersection and marking those points on the graph and doing it that way. So you have all of these stations to pick from. I just want you to do your best. You can solve these things however you want to, however you remember. And then you're putting all your answers in the Google form. You can use the table in the calculator, you can use the graph, you can use this factoring. If you want to work backwards and instead pick an answer and then try and figure out, oh, I don't even know if you can do that. That would be tough. Try and figure out the equation that goes with the answer, that would be hard. So, yeah, do what you can. I know you guys say you don't remember these things, but maybe if you just kind of work at it a little bit, look at the box, look at the factoring, help each other out, and I believe that you can do it. All right?